Okay, so what I've had to do is had to make some modifications to the way I use my bucket feeders, based on what I've seen in some of my hives. The bucket feeders were based on the same concept as my dollar store feeders, where I drilled, oh, there's a yellow jacket there, trying to kill that thing. All right, so there was I drilled 1/16" holes, used a 1/16" drill bit to drill holes around the lip, put the top on, turned it upside down, and worked on a vacuum system. The reservoir would fill up, bees would drink the sugar syrup, and you put a bunch of these in a hive, leave them out there for a while. And this worked well with some of my hives, well, all of my hives out in East Troy. Yeah, yellow jackets are coming around now. So what I did was did the same thing with the bucket feeder. Had the holes drilled around the lip, and then when the thicker syrup, because there's more sugar in there, when the sugar would start to settle, what happened would be it would settle on the yellow jackets. It would settle on the bottom, and it would plug up the holes. So the bees would be around here drinking, and they wouldn't be able to get any sugar syrup because the sugar would plug up the holes. So what I did was I decided to make a few changes. Instead of using the bottom lip here for this particular bucket, I'm gonna make use of the reservoir up top. And this bucket has a deeper reservoir with sections, and I'll show you what to do with this one too. But for this, basically what you're gonna do is you're gonna drill the holes along the bottom, not all the way at the bottom, but maybe halfway. Okay, so I got the hole right there. There's an easier way to do this, of course, but you're gonna drill the holes all along, like I said, halfway around all the bottom. And you don't want to drill through here because the syrup's going to come out here. But another way you could do it, shine a light here on the inside, and you see where the top is of the reservoir. And you see where the bottom of the reservoir is. And you just take a Sharpie, mark a little hole where you want, and instead of drilling from the outside like I did, you just drill from the inside. Now the problem with this is that when you're coming through, like I said, you don't want to come through this part because the sugar syrup will come out. So when you turn the bucket upside down, you'll get a buildup of sugar on the bottom, but you see you got like about 4 inches. So all the syrup's going to be up here. You'll have some extra stuff here. That's no issue. You just keep refilling the bucket. It's 5 gallons. But yeah, all the syrup will fill up here. When you're doing this too, you want to make sure you don't go through here. There's already a hole here, and if that fills up with sugar syrup, it's just going to come through this hole, and your sugar syrup is just going to all get wasted. So just make sure when you're going around there, where these are, you just draw a circle or an X, whichever one you want, so you know that's the area that you're not going to drill holes in, and you're going to drill holes around there. Same concept with this bucket. You see, you get a little light here, you see little chambers. Take your Sharpie, put your hole there, That's about right. I'm just eyeballing it. But, you know, you do a little bit better. Use a light source. Right now we got the sun. And make sure, because it has the chambers here, make sure you get right in the center between them. And like I said, you use a flashlight, it'll be a lot better. So, and you don't want to go all the way on the bottom, or the top, but it'll be the bottom when you flip it. So you want to go maybe halfway down. So about right there. So you got your hole there, and you look on the outside here, the hole's towards the bottom. Syrup fills up, the bees drink. As far as drill bits, you're going to use, I think this one's a little bit bigger. It's like a 7 something, I don't know, 7/16. Or is it? Hold on. I just grabbed one. I'll be a little bit more precise when I get ready to use it, but yeah, it's like a 7/64. But I usually use 1/16 for the other ones. So when I do it myself, when I do it when I'm not recording it, I'll be a little bit neater. Probably use a 1/16 on it. Those have been fine, so I'll keep using those. And then you put the lid on, fill them with sugar syrup. They won't get clogged. Now, the second one that I'm going to do too, that I'm going to experiment, involves not drilling holes along the reservoir, but the top. So what I'm going to do is cut a hole here and use number 40 hardware cloth. And that's going to work on a vacuum system too. So I'll demonstrate that. Okay, so for the next one, we're going to use top of the bucket to feed. So you need your bucket top, keyhole saw, number 40 hardware screen. This I had to order off of Amazon. I got a couple small rolls of it, so I'll make a few buckets, but you can see how small the screen is. All right, heat gun, and this little piece of wood or something similar, and when I get to that part, you'll see why. Okay, so first thing we're going to do, drill a hole in the top of the bucket. Get the trying not to use too much torque. Actually, let's tighten this first. There we go. All right, so we got the hole in there. All right, next you're going to take your hardware cloth and you're going to place it right on the top of there. And this is the inside of the bucket. You could probably do it on the outside too, but it's up to you. And now you're going to grab your heat gun. And this part is, you got to be careful with this, because too much heat, you could kind of melt through the lid, and you don't want to do that. So here's what the stick's for. We're just going to melt the hardware cloth into the plastic on the bucket. And I'm using this piece of wood to hold it down because this metal gets pretty hot. So yeah, you're going to go around here, just give it a tight seal. It'll take a few minutes. Yeah, you see how the plastic is melting into the screen to give it that tight seal. And when it cools, you won't have to worry about the screen dislodging from the bucket. So but yeah, this just a piece of scrap wood I had laying around. You could use anything you want, screwdriver or something like that, just to kind of hold it down. See how it's, oops, it's kind of hot. See how it's kind of, it's tight now. But I'll just go over it a little bit more just to seal it in place. And you could take a X-Acto blade or something like that to trim off whatever's there. Doesn't matter. It's going to be on the inside. It's not going to interfere with anything. But that looks good. Okay. So that's what it looks like, and it's pretty solid right now too. Pushing on it. You don't want to push on it right away. Give it time to cool before you actually do that. Okay, so now it's completely cooled. You see I push on it. It's not going anywhere. Like I said, you could take an X-Acto blade and trim that if you want to, but it's really not necessary. It's going to be on the inside. If you try to put water in the bucket and flip it over, water's going to run through because water's a lot thinner than the sugar syrup. So once you got the sugar syrup in there, or sucrose or whatever you're using, you got yourself a nice little gravity bucket. So I showed you two different types of buckets. This by far is the easiest one to do. Instead of just drilling the holes around here. The buckets, I've seen this particular setup sold online for anywhere between 25 to 60 bucks. The screen, I think 2 rolls of it cost about 15 bucks. It's more screen than I'll need forever. And then the bucket you can pick up at like Home Depot for maybe 5 bucks. If you know somebody who works at a bakery, hit them up. They'll give you a bunch of buckets, and those buckets are food grade, so you don't have to worry about any chemicals or anything. So they probably had like bakery goods or something in there, sugar or something anyway. They pretty much throw those out, so you get a bunch of those for free. The rest of the supplies, the keyhole saw, you can pick up, borrow from somebody. The heat gun, again, you could borrow from somebody, or you could buy one for about 15 bucks. They're not that expensive. But think about savings. You make about 5 of these, and instead of paying 30 bucks for one, you're already ahead. But these 2 types of feeders that I made, these I'm using specifically inside the hive. I don't really like feeding outside the hive because it attracts wasps. And right now, the way you set these up, you just put them directly on top of the frames, put a couple empty boxes on the top. I use these in my out yards, 5 gallons in each one with sugar water. I can leave in, check them out maybe once every 2 weeks. Saves me a little bit of time. But that's just, this is something that you could do this winter and have it ready for the spring. So you don't have to mess around with those little mason jar feeders, because it takes up most of your time. The feeding does. All right, well, thank you.